Generally speaking, the good guns in a Call of Duty game will have a solid following right out of the gate. Sometimes, a really good gun ends up being overshadowed by other guns in the game, hence the sleeper gun. What is up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think are the 20 best sleeper guns in COD history. Now, these were guns that were totally viable, had a lot of potential, but they were never very popular for one reason or another. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think the best sleeper gun in COD history is. Drop a like and do me a favor, guys. We just launched the Chaos Technology channel. That's right, we are growing the Chaos network of channels. If you're interested in AI, in robots, in going to Mars, anything technology-wise, go check it out. I would love to see you guys over there in the comments. And I see a lot of you that are on multiple Chaos channels. The gaming channel, this one, the cinema channel. I truly, truly appreciate all the support. Now, at number 20, the Pharaoh in Black Ops 3. 4-round burst, SMG, had a bit of a following in the community, but was never seen as a top-tier SMG. I think I even dogged on it a few times. I mean, the time to kill was great in theory, but most people just elected to take one of the full-auto SMGs into battle. I understand that. I admit, I never really saw the appeal of this thing. Then again, that theoretical time to kill was pretty nasty if you could stay on target, even though it was hard to use. That made it even more satisfying to pull off a one-burst kill. I still don't think it was anywhere near as good as the other SMGs in Black Ops 3 like the Vesper, VMP, or the Kuda, but it wasn't bad. At number 19 is the AR-M9 in Modern Warfare 3 2023. Now, it debuted as a terrible 5-round burst SMG in Advanced Warfare, but then, for some reason, Sledgehammer decided to give the AMR-9, the name, to an entirely different full-auto SMG in Modern Warfare 3. This version was the starting SMG in the game. Very quickly got overshadowed by other guns in the game, especially considering the fact that Modern Warfare 3 carried over all the SMGs from Modern Warfare 2. So it was really hard for this dinky little thing to stand out. But honestly, this version of it had some solid sauce to it. The recoil was low. It was easy to stay on target. And even though the base damage values weren't special, that accuracy and ease of use did make it reliable. It was a solid weapon for leveling up quickly. I'm not entirely sure why Sledgehammer decided to give it the name they did. Maybe they were just trying to erase the legacy of the Advanced Warfare version by overwriting it, but regardless, I feel like it was slept on. At number 18, the TAR 21 in Modern Warfare 2. The original Modern Warfare 2, and no, I am not going to talk about other guns like the F2000, so don't even ask. Now, Modern Warfare 2 is jam-packed with fantastic weapons. SCAR, ACR, UMP, and while everyone remembers this game's version of the TAR, I don't think it got as much love as it deserved back in the day. It had a relatively low damage profile, had a moderate fire rate, but it made up for those things with some super clean iron sights and very, very low recoil. Basically, it was just the baby's first ACR. All the things people loved about the ACR, the accuracy, the consistency, the range, they were in the TAR. They were. It was just, it had slightly more recoil and slightly less cool firing sounds. I thought it was slept on. I did. It deserved to get way more usage online than it got. At number 17, the MP7 in Black Ops 2. Absolutely overpowered in Modern Warfare 3. We know that. We had pretty high expectations of the next version, which was the one in Black Ops 2. Now, this version was solid. It was super fun to use, but I think there was a bit of a misconception in the community that it was worse than it actually was. And I think it was due to the fact that it wasn't anywhere close to the Modern Warfare 3's version of power. I mean, just because the previous version wasn't better doesn't mean the Black Ops 2 version was bad. Frankly, this version was great, super reliable, very versatile, just wasn't OP like the Modern Warfare 3 version. So a lot of people coming over from MW3, they just wrote it off. This one is absolutely the definition of a sleeper SMG in a game. At number 16, the MG4 in Modern Warfare 2, the original. Now, out of all the LMGs in this game, by far the most slept on, mainly because it had a few bugs attached to it. Despite having slow movement and an unimpressive fire rate, the MG4 had incredibly consistent damage and extremely manageable recoil that made it really good for mowing down groups of enemies and holding down choke points without the help of your teammates. Now, LMGs, they've never been all that popular in Call of Duty, so basically all of them to me are sleeper guns to some degree. But the MG4, it specifically should have gotten more love. At number 15, the Vector in Modern Warfare 2 2009. Do you know this actually had the fastest fire rate in all of the classic Modern Warfare 2, but it didn't have that much of a user base because of the fact that it had some of the lowest base damage out of all the primary weapons? But what made it appealing to some was the lack of recoil, which meant you could make up for that low damage. Well, you could by overwhelming enemy players with a whole lot of shots downrange, one right after another. No, it was not a two-shot monster like the UMP, and it definitely lost some power beyond mid-range, but High fire rate, low recoil combination, it gave it a unique appeal. Plus, honestly, it just looked really awesome. At number 14, let's stick with it. The Vector in Black Ops 2, much like the Modern Warfare 2 version, this version had a very high fire rate, one of the fastest in the game, but then you had your low base damage, some of the lowest in its class. But the low recoil also meant it was a laser beam. You could make up for that low damage by getting a lot of shots on target super quickly. It was never going to outshoot the Scorpion Evo. It wasn't going to outshoot the MSMC, but it was fun to use and it felt super smooth. I always thought it was slept on, and I got a lot of time into this gun myself. At number 13, the Type 100 in World at War. Now, World at War had some of the most recognizable SMGs in COD history. You had the beastly MP40, you had the meat grinder, the PPSH, you had the iconic Thompson. But the 4th SMG in World at War wasn't given nearly as much love, and that was the Type 100. Featured a moderate fire rate, moderate damage, but it had, let me emphasize this, 0 recoil. Made it a monster at mid-range. Honestly, I think the Type 100 was way better than the Thompson in the game, but the Thompson was always more popular because it was the Thompson. And then obviously the other two SMGs, the MP and the PPSH, those were monsters, so they were going to get way more playing time than any of the others, but I do remember how great the Type 100 was. I always thought it deserved more love. At number 12, we're just back-to-backing these. The Type 100 in Vanguard. Once again, really powerful, very versatile, overshadowed by other SMGs. And once again, fantastic for mid-range combat. Fantastic choice for people who wanted to have the mobility of an SMG, but the mid-range killing power of an AR. It wasn't amazing up close, but it also wasn't built for that kind of prominence. It was great at what it was actually trying to do. At number 11, the M4A1 and the original Modern Warfare 2. Now, the M4 in modern COD games is always associated with super sweaty playstyles, crazy high kill matches, but back in the golden age, it was meant to be the standard. It was the all-rounder. It didn't do anything amazingly well, but it also didn't do anything particularly poorly. The Modern Warfare 2 version of the M4A1 was not very impressive. It wasn't flashy, but it was super consistent and extremely reliable, which made it a great choice for leveling up quickly, even after you started unlocking better assault rifles. It was easy to just keep coming back to the M4 because of its reliability. You knew exactly what you were getting from it every single match. You could count on it. Now, to me, that's the definition of being slept on. At number 10, the Tanto 22 in Black Ops 6. This is a gun that used to be really popular, but it has since been pushed out of the meta in favor of other faster firing SMGs. But honestly, I think the Tanto is extremely strong in the right hands. When it comes to the more high skill SMGs in COD history, I think this is one of the best examples I can think of. Fires extremely slowly, hits like a freaking truck, so it can be difficult to hit targets consistently due to the simple fact that fire rate was slow enough that a good mover could just bob and weave in between your shots. But if you got good at staying on target, you could predict the enemy movements. The time to kill on the Tanto was and still is really, really good. I think it absolutely qualifies as a sleeper. Again, it used to be a lot more popular, but it has since started to fade into obscurity in the Black Ops 6 community, which I think is kind of weird because it's still a super powerful weapon. It's just harder to use than the other SMGs. I mean, you have the SOG and the Jackal, so people just kind of go away from it. At number 9, the G3 in COD 4. I always bring this gun up when I get a chance because it was so unbelievably underrated. Semi-auto assault rifle, 0 recoil, 0 fire rate cap, 2-shot kill with stopping power. That sounds absolutely incredible on paper, and it was, and yet it was never a popular pick in COD 4 or Modern Warfare Remastered because this was a game full of absolutely insane full auto weapons, many of which could also kill with 2 bullets. I mean, just off the top of my head, you had the AK-47, the AK-74U, the RPD, the M16, and the MP5, all capable of 2-shot kills. You only had to pull the trigger with your little finger one time. But the G3, man, silky smooth handling, no recoil. It made it amazing to use. It felt amazing. I still think it's one of the best semi-auto weapons in COD history, but nobody ever talks about it, except for us. At number 8, the Scorpion in Black Ops. Now, most people consider the only viable SMGs in Black Ops 1 to be the AK-74U and maybe the MP5K, but the Scorpion, it honestly had a little bit of magic if you knew what you were doing. Decent sized fan club, mainly because of the akimbo option. The akimbo Scorpions were honestly fun to use in the game. Even if you were only using them one at a time, you could beef it up. You could put some perks and some attachments out there. You could make it a stealthy weapon. It was never going to stand up against the AK-74U, but what was? It wasn't terrible. Certainly wasn't as bad as some of the other SMGs in the game. There's some really bad ones. At number 7, the MAC-11 in Black Ops. Another one of the Black Ops 1 SMGs that was never going to be able to stand up to the AK-74U, but still a lot better than people gave it credit for, myself included. Basically, the Uzi without the ridiculous recoil. You had to like the fast fire rate. I mean, it had low damage, yes, but you also had low recoil for a weapon that fired that quickly, which that could help you get some quick kills at close range. There's also an akimbo option for the back 11 in the game, which could be really fun on the smaller, more close quarter maps. Again, it was never going to go toe-to-toe with the 7.4U, but it wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to be fun to use, and definitely better than a lot of people gave it credit for. At number 6, the MTAR in Black Ops 2. This was one of your starting weapons in the game, and like many starting weapons, it was overshadowed by other ARs in that game. And come on, Black Ops 2 was stacked with rifles, M27, SCAR, M8A1, AN94. There was no way the MTAR was going to be able to make a name for itself, but honestly, this rifle, it was amazing. Even though it had some bouncy recoil, it had more than enough power behind its shots to stick with the other weapons in the class. It wasn't quite as melty as the other top-tier rifles we spoke of, but it was reliable. Had a very quick time to kill if you were playing to its strengths, and I put in a lot of time with this gun back in Black Ops 2. Now we arrive at the top 5. The PM9 in Modern Warfare 3 2011. The one-handed SMG was often made fun of by the community for its weird appearance and animations, as well as the fact that basically everyone was using it wrong. If you were trying to use the PM in the same way you use the MP7 or P90, you weren't going to have a good time. This was a weapon made to be used aggressively, as aggressive as possible at all times, usually while firing from the hip instead of aiming down the sights. If you built out your PM9 class with Steady Aim Pro, Sleight of Hand, Specialist, you could get some good gameplays. If you were trying to use it more precisely like the other SMGs, you just weren't going to understand how good its stats actually were. This was a sleeper SMG in the game for sure. Maybe it required playstyle that you didn't like, was a lot less versatile than others, but I don't see anything wrong with a gun being fine-tuned for things like that. At number 4, the CM901 in Modern Warfare 3 2011. I think this is one of the most underrated assault rifles in the entire Modern Warfare trilogy. Fired slowly, yes, that recoil was hard to handle, but the damage, man, it was up there. And it had one of the sweetest reload animations ever, basically the prototype for the iconic M27 reload animation from Black Ops 2. The CM901 could actually land a 2-shot kill pretty consistently. If you could somehow get good at controlling the recoil, you could take full advantage of that. Popping people twice and watching them drop, that was satisfying, especially with the specialist perk sound effects on it. Fire a couple shots, hear that iconic ring sound as the announcer called out your latest perk, and then you just keep picking enemy players off one by one until you're a super soldier. Since the CM901 wasn't as easy to use as the ACR, it didn't get attention. I mean, the ACR was blatantly overpowered in the game, so no other assault rifle stood a chance, which is a shame, because I love this thing. It scratched the same itch as the Remington and Ghost did, and even the HBRA-3 in Advanced Warfare. It was just a beefy rifle. At number 3, I can't believe I'm doing this. The FAD in Modern Warfare 3 2011. This is a gun that actually developed more and more of a following as years went on, which has been interesting to watch from my point of view because it's almost universally hated back in the day, and there's probably 20 videos of me hating on it personally. Final assault rifle you unlocked. Super low base damage, and when I say low, I mean low, but it did have one of the fastest fire rates in the game. Most people forgot all about the FAD because of that awkward handling and the simple fact that it was outclassed by a lot of other rifles and SMGs, but I've noticed over the years that FAD fan club has gotten bigger. I'm not sure if this is a case of people developing new rose-tinted goggles, or maybe if people have been rediscovering the FAD through plutonium, but it did go from the worst AR in the game to being a bit of a cult classic. People swear by it, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. At number 2, the FAD and Ghosts. It returned in Ghost, statistically better than the Modern Warfare 3 counterpart, but it was also even more overshadowed by the weapons in the game. This version of the FAD had to go up against the Honey Badger, the Remington, the MTAR X, the Ripper. It just was not going to be able to stand out in those situations, but it had good stats, kind of served as that middle ground between a light assault rifle and a heavy SMG. Now granted, that role was much better filled by the MTAR X, which is why I don't think anyone really preferred the FAD over the other weapons back in the Ghost days, but it was a sleeper pick. This is an assault rifle that was in 2 back-to-back Infinity Ward games, and we'll just call him a sleeper in both. And at number 1 today, if you know me, you probably know I'm going to use this excuse whenever I can to put this at number 1. The Mfield in Black Ops. It's one of my favorite COD guns of all time. It was a default unlock. Almost everybody put it down immediately after unlocking something else. It was an ugly bullpup rifle, had some awkward recoil and a moderate fire rate, and a lot of people thought it was just a worse version of the Commando or the Galil, which that meant they forgot all about it once they unlocked other guns. But personally, I love the Mfield. In terms of stats, it actually had the same exact damage profile and fire rate as the Galil, so it was just as viable. And even though it was much uglier than the other rifles, recoil pattern, it felt good. The gun was perfectly capable of standing up to the other popular rifles in the game, but it was forgotten simply because it was ugly. To me, it was always one of my go-to weapons. I think it deserves to be called the #1 most slept on gun in COD history. You may disagree, but it's my list, and I'm sticking to it. Let me know 2 slept on guns that did not make the list. Be sure to check out the Chaos Technology channel, and I'll see you soon.